Hi, I'm Kiki and I'm the Starlight Witch. Today's video is all about protection wards, and different spells you can do. When you start researching spell work, literally everybody will tell you that you need to do protection first. And I agree, but I don't think it's something that should make you fear starting witchcraft. When I started my research, the things I was seeing made it seem like if you didn't do 15 protection spells that something terrible was going to happen, and that's just not true at all. So I agree that protection is the first spell you should do, but it's not because witchcraft is dangerous. It's because once you start in witchcraft, you're bringing in so many other energies. It's important to protect your own energy so that your spells can work to the best of their abilities. And also, protection could help with your mental health. Bringing in so many different energies can take a toll on you, can make you feel sluggish or just out of it. There are so many different ways to do protection spells. One of my personal favorites are spell jars, and I currently don't have any to show you. I plan to make one in this video though, so there will be a recipe. And spell jars are more modern witchcraft, but they are based off of traditional witchcraft like witch bottles. But basically, a spell jar is different ingredients with energies that you want to manipulate and direct for a certain spell inside of a jar. They're one of my personal favorites because I love the way they look and they're easy to make. A little similar to spell jars are witch bottles, which is from traditional witchcraft. Witch bottles are for protection, are often buried by thresholds like your front door, but not always. Traditionally, witch bottles have sharp objects such as nails, protective herbs or crystals, and traditionally your urine. However, a modern substitute is white vinegar, but if you do use white vinegar, I do suggest adding some of your hair or spit just to connect you to the spell. Probably one of the most common ways, at least modernly, for protection are crystals. And I think the most common way to use crystals are just to keep them around. I personally seen one of my favorite ways to use crystals on, I think it was Pinterest, I can't remember though. But basically you take a protection crystal like obsidian for example, and you surround it with clay, and you shape the clay into a monster or an animal that you want to protect you. I think the biggest issue with that is that you wouldn't be able to cleanse or charge the crystal directly, but you could cleanse and charge the statue as a whole. You could keep around protective symbols such as sigils, nazars, or pentasils. You could also keep around protective runes, which traditionally come from Germanic beliefs such as Norse paganism. You could make a line of salt or eggshells at each doorway or window to keep out unwanted energies. I personally don't like this because I find it messy, and I think it could be easily broken and could possibly trap unwanted energies inside of the house. So I personally don't do this. You could always light a candle. My favorite candle for protection is just a simple black chime candle. White is also another color used for protection. I personally prefer black over white, and you could use any other color that you associate with protection, or you could take a certain color for a certain type of protection, such as a blue candle for emotional protection. It is also very common to anoint candles with protective oils and herbs. Plants are also seen to have protective energies. I believe that if you properly care for a plant, they will repay you by offering protection. I also think that if a plant that is being properly taken care of and has no reason to start dying, it does start dying, it is because that plant has absorbed unwanted energies or a curse meant for you. However, it is important to know that sometimes plants do just get sick, and there are usually reasons for it, and sometimes they are unknown. It could be something in the soil or a pest that you haven't noticed. So don't think every dying plant was from a curse. Some more traditional wards are witch bells, which are usually 3 bells hung on a doorknob. So when you open it, they ring. Noise is often used to scare away unwanted energies and unwanted spirits. I personally haven't made any, but I would like to. Another pretty common one is blessing jewelry for protection, and you can do that pretty simply. A few ways to do it is cleansing it in some way, and then you can just hold it in your hand and speak your intention into it, or you can keep it around a lit candle that's for protection, and then it can absorb some of that energy. You can charge it on protective crystals. There are several different ways to do it, but it is very simple. Another one of my favorite ways for protection, and I usually do this one, usually daily, not right now, but is veiling. And a veil is basically used to just cover your head, and it is to protect you from any unwanted energies. And there are several different ways to wear a veil, and it doesn't always have to be a traditional veil. You could literally wear a hat as a veil, and that works too. You can wear bandanas, scarves, but as long as you have that intention there, it is working. A traditional old world European ward was having iron or nails, and those were usually kept at thresholds or under beds to protect you from evil spirits or the fae. You could always pray to a certain deity for protection. And then for some more traditional Hellenic paganism protection wards, you could hang dried garlic in your house to keep away evil spirits. Garlic is also sacred to Hekate, the goddess of witchcraft, crossroads, and protection. So you can also ask Hekate to protect your home while you're doing this. You can hang dry bay leaves over doorways to keep away unwanted energies. Bay leaves are also sacred to Apollon, who you can also pray to for protection. You could hang a picture of a gorgoneion, I think that's how you pronounce it, on a doorway, which is the head of a gorgon. Typically, it was Medusa's, and it was a powerful protective symbol, often put on doorways and shields such as Athena's shield. You could find some ways to honor the Agathos Daimon, which is a lesser deity or spirit and is a guardian of households and individuals. Traditionally, liberations were given after meals, typically wine. However, water or most other drinks are completely fine too. You could also keep around snake imagery because he was depicted as a snake. I personally usually only have 2 protective wards, and they're usually both spell jars. However, I do keep around other things with protective properties such as crystals, plants, and then I usually do veil. I have 2 protection spell jars because one is for my space, and then one I turn into a necklace, and I have it with me everywhere I go. I'm going to show you how I make my spell jars. I always start by cleansing. I like to smoke cleanse when I do spell jars, and I just have a small incense stick, and I just cleanse the inside and the outside with the incense. The order doesn't matter, but the ingredients I use are cinnamon, cloves, black salt, you could use regular white salt instead, black pepper, eggshells, rosemary, obsidian, and amethyst. And I also usually have oregano and rose thorns, but I don't have those on me at the moment. I personally like starting with the powder ingredients first. I think it looks the best. And I'm going to use cloves first. I usually use whole cloves, but at the moment I only have ground cloves. And it's important to put your intention into each ingredient. So I personally like to hold it in my hand, and then I speak aloud my intentions to it. So this clove powder will bring me protection in my space, and then I like to close my eyes and visualize my intention going into the ingredient. and then I just add it. And you will most likely make a mess when you are making spell jars, so just be prepared for that. And if you are using a spoon, make sure to clean it in between each ingredient so you are not mixing them in their original container. Next, I'm going to do cinnamon. And the cinnamon will bring me protection while I am in this space, and this space is protected. And the amounts don't matter. You can add as much or as little of each ingredient as you want. Next, I'm going to add black salt, which is another protective thing that I probably should have mentioned earlier. Black salt is regular salt mixed with incense ash, and where I personally use incense ash and black pepper, and it is used for protection, repelling negativity and unwanted energies, and absorbing negativity. Protect this room and myself while I'm in it, and absorb the negativity from inside. Next, I'm going to do black pepper. I have black pepper cloves, but ground pepper works just fine. And this black pepper will protect this room and myself while I am in it. Then I'm going to add eggshells. Might actually need some more, not quite sure yet. These eggshells will protect this room and myself while I'm in it. Okay, I went and got more eggshells. And now I'm going to do rosemary. And this rosemary will protect this room and myself while I'm in it. Now I'm going to add obsidian. This obsidian will protect this room and myself while I'm in it. And then also amethyst to protect this room and myself and absorb all unwanted stress, anxiety, anger, and negativity. I forgot to mention when listing the ingredients, I also have two papers, one with a protective sigil and one with written intention. This is my sigil, though you should make your own so it's more personal. And then my intentions are, this room is protected from all unwanted energies. And I just roll those up and add them. And then I seal my protection spell jars with black wax. And I do that just by lighting a black candle and letting it drip on it. You should probably have something under it so it doesn't get on whatever surface you're working on. I ended up making 3 spell jars. This is the one for my space. I also added black obsidian to the top. This one I turned into a necklace for myself. And this one I added my some of my hair into it to connect me to the spell. And then this one is for my cat, and I added cat claws into it to connect her to it and for some extra protection. That's all I have for today's video. I hope it was helpful to you, and remember that witchcraft is not supposed to be scary just because there's protection involved. And there are several ways to do protection, and you don't need a lot of wards. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!